The time is now 9:15. I would like to call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. All individuals entering city-operated facilities, including City Hall, are required to wear a non-medical face mask. Those at the table are not required to wear masks while sitting as long as they're distanced 6 feet from anyone else. Once you leave your seat at the table, you must put your mask back on. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we're requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I would like to introduce the members of the panel. On the screen zooming in is Mr. Neil Harden. To my left is Ms. Lynn Nesbitt, and my name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Oh. Sure.
Morning. Are you Matthew?
Can't hear us.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yep.
And your name for the record?
Matt Trickett.
Your full name? Matt Trickett.
Matthew Trickett.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Matt, I had started doing the preamble, so I'm going to go over it again for your benefit.
Sorry about that. I thought it was at 9:30. I didn't realize it was at 9. I apologize, everyone. No problem.
That's fine. We've got you online now anyway. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. All individuals entering city-operated facilities, including City Hall, are required to wear a non-medical face mask. Those at the table are not required to wear masks while sitting as long as they're distanced 6 feet from anyone else. Once you leave your seat at the table, you must put your mask back on. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. Matt, you're the only applicant Zooming today, so the next paragraph applies to you. Please note that when you join the meeting via Zoom, all participants will be in the waiting room while you're not in the waiting room anymore. And your microphone will be muted until the host lets you in the room. You can watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel when called upon, and I believe you're the first one on the docket this morning. You will be allowed from the waiting room to speak with respect to your property. Once you've been heard, you can continue to watch the hearing via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. The next sentence doesn't apply to you. I would like to introduce the members of the panel for this morning's hearing. Zooming in from home is Mr. Neil Harden. And to my left is Ms. Lynn Nesbitt. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. Our assessor for today is Matthew Harding, and our secretary is Michelle Neeker. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. It's kind of redundant. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Use of cell phones is not permitted except for approval by the chair. I will now have both parties affirmed. Michelle?
Can you state your full name, please? Sorry, I'll start with the assessor.
Okay.
Can you state your full name, please?
Matthew Russell Harling.
Confirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear.
And the applicant, can you state your full name, please?
Sorry, was that me now?
Yes, sorry.
Matthew Trickett.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Michelle. And just to confirm, Mr. Trickett, the appeal is only based on the annual rental value?
Sorry. I'm gonna
The
try my
appeal
best.
is based on the business assessment annual rental value?
Yes.
It is? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the rent is the
Okay,
rent.
Matt. Yeah, okay. Okay, Matthew, you may proceed.
Okay. Thank you,
Mr. Harling, I guess I better last name since you're both.
Sorry, I said your name, yeah. So. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number for the appeal today is 20-614. The roll year is for 2019. The address is 600 Clifton Street, Unit 16. The business assessment ID is 38951, and the owners are Trickett Interiors 2008 Limited. The current assessment we have, annual rent value we have at the assessment today is for 2019 is 42,180, and the total area that we currently have in our system is 6,060 square feet. If you look below the subject bid, you'll see that there are two units here. The reason there's two is here is because units 16 and 15 are being used, and we have them linked. So it's two areas that are being assessed for the total annual rental value for this year. You'll see currently we do have for unit 16, 4,800 square feet, and the model rent we've applied for that. And below that, you'll see unit 15 at the 1,260 square feet that we have, and the annual rent value, or the market rent we applied. And then you'll see the right view of the occupancy costs and the total occupancy costs. And then you'll see further at the end of you'll see the overall annual rental value for each unit, and then the total annual rental value at 42,180. Before I go any further into my brief, I actually do have a recommendation for this property. After speaking with Mr. Trickett and looking at some of the doing some bit more research on this particular this property, we actually we had an error in our system in terms of the actual error we were assessing for the premises. So that recommendation is based on, for example, or if you look at on my brief at unit 16, again, how we have 4,800 square feet That unit is actually they're only using 2,731 square feet. We hadn't updated our, I was looking at, I found some permits in our system for this build, the property itself, and there had been some changes to the actual overall area since our last assessment. So I'm making that recommendation now. Going forward, we'll be adjusting this area going forward so that it'll be the correct area that they're actually occupying at this time. So for unit 16, we had, again, it's 4,800 square feet, and it actually is only 2,731 square feet. And for unit 15, which is an office portion, we had at 1,260 square feet, where the unit is actually only 794 square feet. So my recommendation is based on adjusting the areas, as well as if you look at the occupancy costs, those will also be adjusted too, because if you look at, for example, unit 15, how we have it as 1,260 going throughout the whole section of occupancy costs when it comes to heat, electricity, water, and air conditioning, that'll be at 794. So we'll be adjusting the occupancy costs for that, as well as occupancy costs for the unit 16 at the 4,800, where it'll only be 2,731. So overall, again, we previously had the annual rental value at 42,180. Based on all these changes with the areas and the occupancy cost adjustments, I'm recommending a reduction in the assessment from 42,180 to 24,960.
Thank you very much. Mr. Trickett, were you aware of this recommendation?
Yes, I was, yes.
And how do you feel about it?
I think it's a fair recommendation, yep.
I'll just ask the panel members if they have any questions. Neil?
No questions.
Lynn?
No question.
And I have no questions. So do you have anything else to add, Mr. Trickett?
No, I mean, Matthew said it well. Those spaces, as you can see, like Matthew brought up, we're using it limited. One is the building storage, the garages and ours. The shop, really, we inherited, and we only have one guy in there part-time. It's not something we specialize in doing, so it's more than fair.
Okay, thank you. That concludes this hearing. You'll be hearing from the board in due course.
Okay.
And that's 2019 and 2020, correct, Mr. Harlan?
Well, the 2019, yes, the recommendation will be put forth for both 19. However, though, I guess the 2019 assessment is based on like 2018, 2019, or the 2-year cycle. So 2020 is based on 29. The 2018 is the reference date, and 2019 or 2020 and 2021 would be the is a different role. It's essentially a different assessment cycle. So I mean, I do have a recommendation for that as well. But I don't know if you want me to go through that as well or not, because the value is slightly different than that one. So based on
because in your first submissions, both values were the same.
Oh yes, yeah, okay, yeah.
So if you want to go through the 2020 now, so that we can update our
Sure,
notes.
yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah. Okay, let's go through this quickly. Here. Perfect. The file number is for this appeal is 20-615. The roll year is for 2020, based on a reference date of April 1st, 2018. The address again is 600 Clifton Street, Unit 16. The business ID is 38951, and again the owners are Trickett Interiors 2008 Limited. If you look below my brief, you'll see the total rent value is the same at 42,180. And I won't go too much into detail about the actual everything else, because as the areas are still the same as we had previously, and those will be adjusted according to my recommendation. So the overall recommendation I'm going to be applying for this property is at 25,140. That's the recommendation for 2020. Again, this is based on reducing the areas, the overall areas that we had for each unit, which was incorrect at the time. So and adjusting the occupancy costs and so forth. So the value I'm recommending for 2020 is 25,140.
Just to confirm, 25,140.
That's correct.
Mr. Trickett, were you aware of this one for 2020?
Yes, we spoke about it, yeah.
And how do you feel about it?
Again, it's fair, yeah.
Neil, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Lynn?
No questions.
And I have no questions. So this concludes the hearing for 2019 and 2020. And as I mentioned before, you'll be getting the order in due course.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Is 950 Logan Avenue.
Correct.
And just for the record, have you been in contact with this applicant?
I haven't today, but I had actually spoken with the property owner. I believe it was last Friday's last time I spoke with him, actually. Yes, so.
Okay, if you want to go through your 2019 brief.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 20-624. The roll year is 2019, based on a reference date of April 1st, 2016. The address is 950 Logan Avenue. The business assessment ID is 55422, and the owners are DMB Construction Incorporated. If you look below my brief, you'll see the total annual rental value for 2019 is $36,540, with a total area of 4,828 square feet. If you look further below the subject bid, you'll see the premise address is 950 Logan Avenue. Again, the premise area is 4,828 square feet. We are applying a model rent of $5.22 a square foot. And you'll see below, to the right of that, you'll see all the occupancy costs. And then at the end of my brief, you'll see the overall annual rent value again at $36,540. For this property, before I go more into my comparables, again, as I mentioned, I had spoken with the property owner, or the tenant, Mr. Domingos Bravo, about this property. And after discussing with him, there's actually a recommendation I'm going to be putting forth based on our discussion. Now, the recommendation is based on adjusting the occupancy costs for the heat as well as the air conditioning we have. From this particular building, there's only half of the building is actually heated. So we were using 4,828 square feet for the overall heat. So I'm reducing that to half, which is at 2,414 square feet. And there's actually no air conditioning unit within the building as well. So that occupancy cost is going to be removed so that I won't be assessed for that occupancy cost. So based on those changes, my recommended air and rental value is $33,420 from the $36,540. And again, that's just based on adjusting the occupancy costs.
So 33,420.
That's correct.
Neil, do you have any questions?
Just one. What's the cutoff threshold for business tax in 2019?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know off the top of my head.
It's somewhere around that figure, isn't it?
It is pretty close to that number, yes. I honestly, I believe might be just under. I just can't remember off the top of my head. So, because unfortunately, it changes from year to year. So, and
I know. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Lynn, any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thanks.
And I have no questions. So the next one is the same property except the 2020 roll.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 20-63. The roll year is 2020, based on the reference date of April 1st, 2018. The address is 950 Logan Avenue, and the business assessment ID is 55422, and the owners are DMB Construction Incorporated. Look below my brief, you'll see the total annual rental value at $41,400, and the total area again being 4,828 square feet. Again, if you look now at the subject information of the property, again, you'll see the premise area 4,828 square feet. You'll see the model rate we have applied, rent applied at $6.12 a square foot. And then to the right, again, you'll see the occupancy costs included with the overall base annual rental value to give us the total annual rental value of $41,400. Again, for this appeal, this the 2020 assessment, I actually have a recommendation again to put forth in this one. Again, I'm going to be following through with my previous, the 2019, where I'll be adjusting the areas for the heat and the AC to 2,414 for the heat, and then we'll be removing the occupancy cost for air conditioning. As well as I actually am going to be adjusting the model rent we were using. Based on some of the comparables I found, I felt the model rent we were using was a little high. So I will be adjusting the rate from $6.12 a square foot to $5.50 a square foot. And applying those changes will actually reduce the annual rent value from $41,400 to $35,280.
Can you repeat the number, please?
$35,208.
2080.
280, sorry.
Right, gotcha.
280.
280, yeah. Took me a minute.
Thank you, Neil. Any questions?
No.
Then?
I actually do just have a quick question I should have asked. Are these adjustments to the square foot done as a result of an inspection or?
I received, yeah, I'd spoken with Mr. Domingos over the phone, and we actually have there was actually a realty hearing appeal on this property last year, and the assessor at the time, he actually had inspected the property and taken photos. So based on the photos and talking to the owner at the time, I was able to kind of see what areas, and I could tell like there was, they didn't have any heating system in that area. It was like kind of a shop area where they didn't really have an actual internal heating system, just some like kind of like, rolling in heaters for heat when they needed it. So it wasn't an actual physical installed building. So.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I have no questions. So that concludes the hearing for today.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.